In November 2009, beauty publication and website Women's Wear Daily would secure an interview with global supermodel Kate Moss. In this interview, they would cover all the classic profile piece questions, such as how do you define beauty or what inspires you? However, this article would become infamous due to Kate's reply to the question, do you have a motto? To which she answered, nothing tastes as good as skinny feels.
If your belly is the first thing to enter a room, you do not need a cheat meal.
If you want to get skinny, you need to gaslight yourself to skinny.
These are the rules. Don't argue, just get skinny.
I am a proud member of Skinny Talk.
Now, growing up in Britain in the 2000s and early 2010s was pretty great. I got to enjoy the peak of kids' MMO games such as Toontown and Club Penguin, as well as experience the rapid growth of technology and social media in real time, going from an iPod to an iPod Nano to an iPod Touch, or entering kids' magazine competitions in order to win a flip video recorder. Anybody else remember those? Just me? Okay. And after a long day of going to school, playing with my toys, eating pasta at the dinner table, I finally settle in for 7 PM TV time with my family. However, TV shows back then felt a lot less fear about what they should or could discuss on national television. For example, a popular TV show that ran for 6 seasons between 2008 and 2012 was BBC Three's infamous Snog, Marry, Avoid.
Your gruesome makeup and bizarre clothes make you look like a cartoon calamity. God does not like that look. Why do you want to look like spiky roadkill?
It's fun.
In this TV show, they would take young adults who typically had a more extreme fashion style or lifestyle and would humiliate them into what they would call a make-under. They'd ask the public whether they would snog, marry, or avoid the person before and after this transformation, and eventually following up with a check-in after a couple weeks to see if that person went back to their old aesthetic before the make-under. This show was pretty popular, and for a lot of people, including my young self, there didn't really seem to be much of a problem with it. After all, the contestants were there consensually. However, revisiting this show as somebody who grew up alternative, it's interesting to see how often these make-unders would coincide with standard gender roles and also more conservative ideals of what fashion should look like. But okay, maybe that was a one-off. What about all the other shows that I grew up with?
How fat do you see yourselves?
But for Matt and Sarah, it's about more than getting rid of their bellies.
We want to start a family and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Can you ever imagine yourself getting into that?
I'd love to get in something like this.
When you can't get into these sort of clothes?
Because you're too fat. Because you're too enormous.
Yeah, that's exactly how I feel.
Oh, okay. Fat Families was a 2010 show hosted by Steve Miller, who would join British families in their households to uncover the source of their weight gain, as well as enforce a new diet regime in order to help them shed the pounds. Something which, in theory, shouldn't necessarily be bad. After all, snacking is normal, and everybody has their own neuroses when it comes to how they conduct their household. However, if you couldn't guess, the issue with this television show was not only how they handled the subject matter, but also how they treated the families who were seeking to lose this weight.
Tell them how many slices of bread you have a day.
About 6.
He has 42 slices of bread every single week.
This language and use of humiliation is honestly so uncomfortable to watch, especially through a 2025 lens. Using fat and other derivatives of the same word as a wholly negative and grotesque descriptor. In fact, British TV during this time period had a lot of television shows revolving around makeovers and diets, with other examples including Secret Eaters, Super Size versus Super Skinny, How to Look Good Naked, 10 Years Younger, What Not to Wear, and of course the British derivative of The Biggest Loser. Being a kid during this time, I vividly remember boys my age calling me and my friend super size and super skinny, or even just watching girls my age rapidly getting into beauty and fashion at a breakneck pace, losing weight by throwing their uneaten lunches in the bin before heading home. Honestly, I was way more focused on playing with my toys and watching anime in 5 separate parts in 240p over on YouTube. However, when I got to secondary school, which would be high school for you Americans, I suddenly became very aware of my food and its impact on my changing body. I remember one of my friends would hardly ever eat, only sampling a few fries on the rare occasion we could scrape enough cash together after school to hit up McDonald's. I also vividly remember how I felt when my best friend at the time pinched the fat on my stomach and called me chubby, saying that I ate way too much and even quoting that a moment on the lips is a lifetime on the hips. And yet 10 years later, I'm watching as social media is selling the same insecurities to kids and adults that hurt me through my teenage years and young adult life. Apps and websites that have the age requirement to sign up at 13 are allowing content that teaches kids that being skinny and attractive is the most important thing that you can be. I talk to my 11-year-old sisters about school only only to learn that girls in their year are obsessed with skincare, making my sisters feel silly for not having a 5-step beauty routine at 11 years old. After Kate Moss's 2009 interview, chief executive of ED charity Beat, Susan Ringwood, spoke out about how dangerous Kate's words were, stating, "This phrase is often used as one of the 10 commandments or mantras, and it is young women between the age of 12 to 20 who are most at risk from ANA, which is unfortunately the same group that could be influenced by celebrity culture." And Susan Ringwood was right, because in 2025, this mantra has become a popular audio on what has been coined skinny talk. Now, before we get any heavier into this subject, I want to put out a very clear disclaimer. This video will look at the very dark path that we're going down with social media, and the lies that modern wellness influencers and self-proclaimed weight loss success stories are trying to sell you. In this video, I'm covering difficult topics such as EDs, SH, social media, and general body dysmorphia. I will not be accusing any one individual or business of any wrongdoing, and anything that I say regarding that is my own opinion and not a statement of fact. If you feel that this video in any way could jeopardize your wellness or your recovery, please consider watching some of my more light-hearted pop culture content instead. I'm making this video purely to bring awareness, education, and discussion to a growing epidemic that I'm seeing online, but not at the cost of your well-being. Anyway, enough yapping, let's just get right into it. Now, it's easy to assume that diet culture is a more recent trend. After all, the expectation for women to shave is a more recent phenomena, only coming about in 1915 because Gillette saw a gap in the market. Utilizing ad space in Harper's Bazaar on the run-up to summer, Gillette promoted women's razors as a way to get rid of unsightly body hair when wearing sleeveless dresses, a style which had recently taken off in popularity. And this marketing for a product worked so well that it became ingrained in Western society. However, diet culture and dieting habits are actually far more deep-rooted. As far back as ancient Greece, physical fitness and leanness was revered as virtuous, coinciding with the creation of the Olympics in 776 BC. Jumping forward in history, we can see that many religions globally use food as a connection between themselves and their deities, with Christians limiting their intake of food during celebrations like Lent, whilst Muslims practice Ramadan in order to show self-discipline and solidarity to those who are less fortunate. In many cultures, faith and food are inextricably linked. On the other hand, more mainstream diet culture began forming in the West around the mid-1800s, upon the publication of William Banting's A Letter of Corpulence. This short paper documented William's weight loss journey through learning about food and its relation to the body, citing his removal of foods such as bread, milk, sugar, and beer as a key part of his weight loss. Essentially, in modern terms, just a low carbohydrate and low sugar diet. Instead, replacing these things with fruits, vegetables, and a lot of animal protein. William lost a total of 35 pounds over the course of 9 months on this regime, which evened out to about £1 a week of weight loss, massively inspiring him to write of his experience and share it freely with other people. Now, quickly, it's important to mention that William Banting had absolutely no medical training or background in medicine. Instead, he learned all of his information from other people's medical lectures, as well as his consultations with surgeon William Harvey. Banting was also from an upper middle class family and was a funeral director, so he has significantly better access to both medical care and also luxury treatments. However, it was Banting that popularized this method of dieting amongst many white working class men who had previously worked in more manual, labor-intensive jobs, to now working more sedentary jobs such as office work post-industrialization. These men began linking their masculinity to the appearance of their bodies, with softer and less muscled physiques now seeming feminine and undesirable. William Banting's A Letter of Corpulence unintentionally became a way for men to reclaim their perceived dominance and masculinity. And when it came to women of that time, as we know, a plumper and more full-bodied figure was usually a signifier of wealth and status when it came to a lot of Western cultures. The curvy hourglass shape, which was highly sought after, would often be achieved through methods like corseting. Women's beauty publications began to promote dieting and a smaller, more petite physique. This shift to skinny superiority has been linked by authors such as Sabrina Strings, author of Fearing the Black Body, to a lot of racist pseudosciences and the Atlantic slave trade, with black people at the time being seen as undisciplined, gluttonous, and without God, whilst their white oppressors saw themselves as superior, capable of moderation and able to withdraw from things that brought them pleasure. White women and their husbands could separate themselves from their black counterparts by idealizing white, slender bodies. After all, thinness is next to godliness, and food is a connection to Christ. And this line of thinking was adopted very quickly, with people such as French scientist Georges Louis claiming that big bellies were a noticeable deficit amongst women from some African tribes, or eugenicists such as Charles Davenport, who claimed that fatness was a constitutional flaw, and that Jewish or Chinese people were prone to racial obesity. This pseudoscience going on to create Charles Davenport's white bannerol of health and beauty, which linked primarily female desirability to white standards of health and physique. And I feel like I need to hold your hand while I tell you this, but this line of thinking directly inspired BMI. The creator of BMI was Ansel Keys, who in 1950 began to explore the concept of fatness and obesity. Ansel wanted BMI to be a universal health indicator. However, his studies and research weren't without personal bias, as Ansel himself allegedly, amongst friends, described obesity as disgusting and ethically repugnant, aligning himself and his research under Davenport's white bannerole of health and beauty. His research and studies to corroborate BMI being a functional universal health indicator were massively flawed, as it simply wasn't possible for him to get a large enough sample of every racial and ethnic diversity globally and to study that group over a large enough period of time to sample the effectiveness of BMI. BMI was designed to be a uniformed calculator, but that simply wasn't the case at all, with a lot of the testing for BMI being based on white pseudoscience. And yet somehow in 2025, parents are receiving letters home from schools regarding the BMI results of their prepubescent children, with the encouragement of children who are deemed to be overweight based on their BMI to engage in healthier diets and more activity.
See if you need any further proof that BMI is utter bullshit. My 5-year-old daughter came home from school with this letter the other day. I mean, it looks like that because her dad put it straight in the bin, but informing me that not only is she overweight, she's obese. According to her BMI, she is obese, and it gives me a whole lot of information about feeding her a better diet and healthy eating. Now, not only would I say, this is her the other day, not only would I say she's no obese, she's skinny. Look at her, she's built like the side of a fiver. Who would look at her and say, that Wayne's obese, she needs to be put in a diet, we better tell her mum, give her mum advice about healthy eating, which is a joke for them for a start, but that's another issue. The issue is that BMI is an outdated system and quite clearly can't be relied on.
And again, this being the same BMI, which is a completely, functionally outdated way of measuring someone's health. And that brings us back to modern day, where BMI and body weight are a big deal. Being big is a big deal. And I very quickly want to say that wanting to lose weight isn't inherently a problem, because for some people their weight can impact their health or their quality of life. The world is still very much catered to smaller and straight sizing. Everything from airline seats to theme parks are more accessible and cheaper the smaller that you are. The struggle of finding cute clothes is greatly reduced when you're not having to look towards a limited selection of plus sizes or a small amount of brands who can cater to your body type. The world and your treatment within it get a lot easier when you fit the body beauty standard. And although a lot of fat phobia comes from racial and class bias throughout history, that doesn't mean that somebody now should have to live in a body that they don't feel comfortable in. A massive part of self-love and self-confidence is putting the work into who you want to be, as well as loving who you already are as well. So okay, let's say that you want to lose weight. Maybe you're concerned about your health after speaking to a doctor, or maybe you just want better access to clothing and fashion that you enjoy. What proven diets are out there that you can try in order to lose a couple pounds? Well, a popular one that a lot of people have gravitated towards is a ketogenic diet. This involves consuming a very low amount of carbohydrates and instead replacing it with more fats, all of which allow your body to go into a state of ketosis, essentially where your body is burning its fat rather than carbohydrates in your system. And hey, keto boasts a lot of health benefits such as sugar management for type 2 diabetes, lowering the risk of heart diseases, and apparently even helping with epilepsy. Which is curious because I have epilepsy, I have a neurologist, I go to treatment centers, I take medication. And yet funnily enough, none of my neurologists or doctors that have seen me, have treated me, have prescribed me, have ever talked to me about a ketogenic diet. Now, I'm not saying that it doesn't help some people with epilepsy, but I do find it curious that I've never been recommended it. But hey, a lot of people genuinely do believe that keto has managed to help them lose weight and improve their health overall, which is honestly really, really good, and I'm not here to knock that progress for anyone. Now, despite keto existing long before its noughties popularity, it really took off in mainstream culture in the 2010s, with popular Silicon Valley broadcaster Tim Ferriss writing, "Keto was incredible for simultaneous fat loss and lean muscle gain," following this up in a 2013 blog post where he described how keto helped his body and health in ways that exercise and food simply could not. And with this information spreading fast amongst his 1 million monthly followers, it eventually got picked up and pushed by other online lifestyle gurus such as Dave Asprey and Mark Sisson. But the issue is that the weight loss industry is a multi-billion-dollar industry. Everything from workout DVDs to diet supplements to workout clothing. And so with this new ketogenic diet suddenly taking off in Silicon Valley and beyond, the creation of a new diet pill to capitalize on this trend was inevitable, these being raspberry ketones. Now, I remember seeing adverts for raspberry ketones and even seeing the bottles lined up near the till and cash points at my local pharmacies such as Boots and Superdrug. They were literally everywhere during my teen years, and I didn't think much of them apart from the fact that they just seemed like another diet pill. But apparently, according to virtuemarketresearch.com, the raspberry keto market size as of 2023 was valued at $150 million, with its growth estimated to reach $280 80 million by 2030. Somehow, in the era of Ozempic, where Weight Watchers is starting to file for bankruptcy, raspberry ketones are somehow alive and well. So why is it that in July 2014, popular women's lifestyle magazine Cosmopolitan published an article about raspberry ketones under the title "Raspberry Ketones, a Scary Scam on So Many Levels"? Well, in this article, Cosmo goes on to debunk a lot of the popular claims made by raspberry ketone manufacturers and the people that shill them, with a quote from nutritionist Naomi Mead stating, "Unlike medications which undergo years of rigorous testing, so-called diet pills can be put onto the market with very little evidence to back up any health claims that are made alongside them." Further into this article, Cosmo also explores issues surrounding dodgy pills from dodgy places, with some of the side effects of these pills being severe stomach cramps, or financial consequences from putting your card number into one of these websites, including fraud and unexpected charges on your credit card. Other publications such as Women's Health, Today'sDietitian.com, and even Healthline also publishing advisories warning people against buying into raspberry ketones. And that's not even mentioning the actual listed side effects from reputable sellers and manufacturers, because some of these side effects include insomnia, anxiety, high blood pressure, and even heart palpitations, with many people and many bottles recommending that you talk to your GP before putting yourself onto raspberry ketones. But these diet pills and supplements don't require any form of ID or doctor's prescription in order to buy them. Literally anyone can purchase them, especially with access to the internet. Just by looking into weight loss and ketogenic dieting online, these pills begin to get organically marketed to people who are already immersed in this line of thinking. It's this progression from doing things casually to doing them habitually. This desire to make dieting easier and see faster results. The keto diet may very well be safe and beneficial for those who are following it properly, but it, like many other fad diets, has the ability to be misused or taken way too far. And this is where the problem with diet culture can very quickly spiral into a pipeline to ED culture. This marketing of an easy fix or a definitive desirable outcome without any care or information as to the detriment that this path can cause. The pressure that society puts on us being healthy, but only when healthy looks a certain way. And arguably worst of all, you don't even have to be looking for this information or wanting to lose weight to suddenly be exposed to it, because this unrelenting pressure for thinness has been married into marketing all over social media. And it's really, really bad, and it's only getting worse. Now, most people don't launch themselves into EDs or ED spaces. Seldom does anyone ever set out to give themselves a lifelong ED or a disordered relationship with food. A lot of the time, this seed of insecurity is planted by someone's friends, their family, the people that they work or go to school with, or even just negative experiences that you have online. Kids don't start with this negative perception of bodies until somebody else around them comments on it. Somewhere along the line, we learn that being fat and ugly are not only synonymous, but are also some of the worst things that you can be. The TV tells you it's bad. Magazines tell you it's bad. Even the villains in kids' cartoons tell you it's bad. So imagine being a teen or young adult on social media in 2025, specifically one of the top platforms such as TikTok. And for the first time in your life, you hear the phrase cortisol face.
This was my face a month ago, very puffy. This is my face now. You cannot tell me that I do not look completely different. And what did I do? I healed my gut. You've seen it all over, but I got the colostrum stuff and I'm actually 16 days into taking it. Let me just tell you, this stuff works. The effects healing your gut can have on your entire body is actually insane.
Your face isn't fat, you just have cortisol face.
This is going to be really hard for me to show you guys, but I'm going to do it anyway because it's a great example of what cortisol can do to your face. Okay, guys, this is me 6 months ago, a couple days before I got out of a toxic relationship. I was 25 pounds heavier. I started getting acne in my mid-20s. My insomnia was getting worse. My anxiety was through the roof. Doctor said my blood pressure was just like really high. I was trying to trick myself into believing that I was happy, even though my body was screaming to change because obviously something was wrong. So if you're experiencing signs of high cortisol, here's some of the things that I did that got my body feeling and looking better.
Your cheeks aren't chubby, you just have to reduce your cortisol levels. Suddenly, you clock your reflection in the phone screen and you think to yourself, maybe I do have a bigger face than I should. But hey, you keep scrolling, trying not to let it bother you. But after a couple more videos, you get another good-looking white woman telling you that she used to look like this because she had cortisol face. By this point, the algorithm has sensed your hesitation and has pounced. It is now drip-feeding you insecurity every so often as you scroll through your phone. Before you know it, you know more about cortisol face and the associated symptoms of cortisol face than you do about menstrual cycles or birth control. And so when the next video pops up recommending these drink sachets that will not only fix your face, but now a myriad of other symptoms that you didn't know that you had.
Did you know that if your armpits stink really bad or you have bad, terrible breath, if you have a puffy moon face or a stubborn, annoying flupa, If you're struggling with hair loss or hair thinning, you have absolutely no energy, and no matter what you do, you cannot sleep through the night. Maybe you have trouble pooping, or you struggle with brain fog and remembering things. These are all possible signs of having high cortisol, otherwise known as the stress hormone. These drink packets have been my favorite way in helping me lower my cortisol levels. These are super easy to take. All it is taking one of these drink packets and putting it in 8 ounces of water. They contain ashwagandha, vitamin D3, L-theanine, and magnesium glycinate. Zero sugar, no BS ingredients. Taste super good, just like raspberry lemonade. Since I started taking these, I no longer overthink the little things as much as I used to.
You don't even notice the little commission paid stamp at the bottom of the video description, or the fact that this person is in no way qualified to tell you if these drink sachets work, or if you even have symptoms of cortisol face. And it's also not called cortisol face, it's called Cushing syndrome.
Not to be rude, but you don't have cortisol face. You don't have cortisol face, you don't have a buffalo hump, you don't have a problem with inappropriate secretion of cortisol unless a physician or other trained healthcare provider has diagnosed you with Cushing syndrome, which requires either blood work or urinary secretion testing or something called a dexamethasone suppression test to get that diagnosis of inappropriate secretion of cortisol.
And so, just like Tumblr and many other platforms before it, TikTok has turned into a breeding ground for selling insecurities, with these self-serving lifestyle gurus selling beauty and weight loss through their content, very often to the tune of TikTok shop commissions, subscription courses, or of course everybody's favourite, undisclosed advertisements. So much so that a new space within the TikTok platform has emerged specifically for this content, with it being coined under the name of Skinny Talk, a so-called place where people who are looking to lose weight or need weight loss motivation can come together and encourage each other and hold each other accountable. Something which again, in theory, could be helpful for those who do need body doubling or motivation when it comes to being consistent with weight loss or exercise. But in reality, often follows the well-trodden ED path of meanspo and Anna thinking. A very quick look at Skinny Talk should be raising your alarm bells. It's littered with self-deprecating and fat-phobic content, often being posted by faceless teenagers and attractive middle-class women.
I am a proud member of Skinny Talk, and these are the quotes that I've picked up from the past 2 weeks, so if you don't like Skinny Talk, then keep scrolling. I want somebody to tell it to me straight that I don't know personally, which is why I love it. Number 1, the one thing that has been going through my brain every single day: eat skinny, be skinny, eat big, be big. They're already talking behind your back, why make it bigger? Literally so good. You're not a dog. You don't need a treat. A fat lasts longer than flavor. That one I love.
And a lot of the rhetoric that you'll start to notice that emerges within these Skinny Talk spaces falls into what was classically called meanspo, but has now been rebranded under the hashtags of harsh motivation or clean eating. These videos push the narrative that you need to be mean and cruel to yourself in order to have the motivation to lose weight and skip out on food. Oftentimes they'll use images such as pigs or farmyard animals with quotes to hammer home how disgusting being fat and unhealthy is, using audios from American Psycho or Kate Moss in order to recycle this content for the consumption of others on Skinny Talk. And again, just like with any fad diet or uptake of diet culture, there are always grifters who feel qualified to insert themselves as self-proclaimed weight loss experts, almost always with a course to sell or a product to earn commission on.
If your belly is the first thing to enter a room, you do not need a cheat meal. You don't need a cheat day. You need a salad. You need to walk 10,000 steps a day. You need some discipline. You need some mental strength. And you need to crack on and lock in and get on your Zoom.
Now, I'm not going to stand here and pretend that I'm a nutritionist or an expert on diet and exercise, because I simply am not. I'm not going to stand here and speculate on the qualifications of any one individual or the effectiveness of any of these businesses. These are just my opinions from an outsider's perspective. However, I will happily say that it's incredibly concerning and disappointing seeing so many young and obviously more affluent women who are using this harsh motivation content and language over on Skinny Talk in order to sell their courses or products and platform themselves as an educated voice on healthy eating or living. After all, it's been widely recognized that dieting through negative self-perception often leads to an unhealthy relationship with food long term. And so again, I wonder why so many of these self-proclaimed weight loss experts use this method of harsh motivation in order to sell their content and gain viewership, when as experts they should know better than to sell their audience gift-wrapped body dysmorphia. Just because you lost weight by hating yourself and having the financial access to healthier food options does not mean that you are equipped equipped or qualified to put unverified advice online for the consumption of people of all ages. And the thing is, I know that some of these people probably started off with good intentions, just using their content as a digital diary to track their own personal weight loss and progress. However, it seems like whenever people start to experience personal success or weight loss, they feel qualified to start sharing advice, good or bad, with others who may not know any better. Even at times developing this internalized fat phobia now that they finally fit society's rigid body standards.
Unpopular opinion, but I believe the body positivity movement gaslights women into believing it's okay to be fat. Not only is it gaslighting women into believing it's okay to be fat, it's telling people that they have to love that they are fat because otherwise they are not loving their body.
When researching for this script, I actively came across so many videos that were cultivating ED advice or pushing ED narratives. And despite TikTok having a dedicated report tab specifically for disordered eating and unhealthy behavior towards food, when I went ahead and reported some of these videos and the comments that went alongside them, every single time I was met with a no violation found from TikTok. This all being whilst TikTok acknowledges that the Skinny Talk hashtag has links to harmful eating behaviors. And word about this new digital age of dieting has begun to hit mainstream media too, with an article from Vice literally going live a couple of hours before the time of recording. And in a Skinny Talk article by Forbes magazine, Dr. Dji Mic states, the medical concerns from extreme fasting trends promoted on Skinny Talk include the following dangers: electrolyte imbalances that can lead to cardiac complications, hormonal disruptions affecting menstrual cycles and metabolic function, nutritional deficiencies that impact cognitive function and energy levels, development or worsening of disordered eating patterns, psychological distress from constant hunger and food preoccupation, and finally, cardiac issues including heart rhythm and abnormalities in severe cases. And if it's not influencers pushing this line of thinking, it's diet apps that are paying for ad space on platforms like TikTok. One incredibly dumb diet application that kept popping up on my For You page on TikTok was called BitePal, an AI-powered food and calorie tracker that also doubles up as a sinister Tamagotchi, where the more you stick to this AI-detected healthy diet, the happier and healthier your virtual pet will be. And I guess you can call me woke, but something about advertising what is essentially a dieting Tamagotchi on an app that allows 13-year-olds to sign up for it just feels a little bit predatory. Like, in my mind, all the adverts that they put out typically would appeal to a younger audience, think teenagers and young adults. I can't imagine for many adult women past the age of 25 that these adverts are going to do much for them or instill much faith in its diet capabilities. Not to mention that an app that relies on AI analysis of the food that you're eating will likely not be very accurate to the ingredients and nutrition of what you've got on your plate. And so just for this video, I downloaded the app and decided to test two different very easy to track foods using this AI detection. The first was a painfully boring 30-gram miso soup packet, which contains 34 calories per 30-gram prepared serving. All you have to do is add 160 milliliters of water and, in my case, some chili flakes, and you have a pretty yummy side dish for a full meal or just a snack to tide you over. And to make this even easier for BitePal's AI, I made sure to use a white shallow bowl in order for it to better pick up the ingredients and the details of the food that I had. But despite this, the AI, without any amendments from me, went on to say that this 160 milliliter serving of miso soup was the best part of 4 times the stated calories on the miso soup packet, taking this portion from 34 calories to 120 calories. Apparently, the water in my area somehow managed to rack up an extra 80 calories out of thin air. Clearly, this didn't work, and so the next thing I decided to test was even more simple. A packet of Walker's baked cheese and onion crisps. Look, I ate all the salt and vinegar ones earlier, so we're gonna have to do a cheese and onion. Now, on the front of the packet, literally front and center, it's very clearly stated that this bag is 22 grams and that it has 96 calories per packet. I even poured the crisps onto a plate to once again make it easier for the AI to detect how many crisps there were and the size of the crisps in comparison to the plate. And when I used BitePal to analyze the nutrition and calories of the crisps, once again with no amendments from me, BitePal claimed that this was a 50-gram serving and was actually 268 calories. Once again being massively incorrect, despite the fact that there is only one key ingredient within this food. And so you know what, I went one further. I decided to take a picture of the packet of crisps whilst it was still in the packet. The same packet that had all of the very clearly stated nutritional and weight information on the front of it. And yet, still on 2 occasions, BitePal could not accurately detect the calories or weight of what I had, stating each time that the volume was 50 grams and that the calories were 268 grams. And even when I amended the weight that the AI detected back to 22 grams, the discrepancy was still over over 20 calories. If BiPal can't even detect the actual nutritional information on the front of a packet that I've taken a picture of, how can we trust it to accurately determine the nutritional value and calories of food we prepare at home? Not to mention that important nutritional information was all locked behind a paywall, meaning that you're not only trusting the app's ability to accurately count calories of food, but also measuring things like carbohydrates or differentiate the measures between sugar and salt in what you're eating. And yet somehow, despite all of these inaccuracies, this app is allowed to advertise on a platform where 13-year-olds are allowed to sign up, giving impressionable and vulnerable young people access to incoherent calorie counting without any actual knowledge about how important sugar, fat, salts and other things can be when consumed in moderation. The free version of this app only focuses on calories and not the importance of a varied and balanced diet. I swear, as soon as you give any attention to diet culture or weight loss on social media platforms, even from creators who are qualified and body positive, you will inevitably be bombarded with far more harmful content. I mean, just recently, TikTok had to take down 2 AI filter trends that were hugely detrimental. One filter showing what your body would look like after significant weight loss, and the other filter showing what your body would look like after significant weight gain. And to the surprise of nobody, the skinny filter was used as motivation, and the fat filter was mocked for being gross and disgusting and used as a deterrent for eating. Somehow these terrible AI filters were not only allowed to be posted on TikTok, but also pushed and platformed. I don't engage in any weight loss content, I don't follow any weight loss content creators, and yet I kept having these videos coming onto my feed with one plus size woman looking at what she could be like if she lost stupid amounts of weight, insane amounts of weight, and then somebody else who's already the beauty standard adding loads of weight on with an AI filter and laughing about how gross they would look. I don't want to see that. I don't interact with social media to get shown that. I want to open my phone, watch a dog video like a boomer on Facebook, and then go ahead and consume the same chicken jockey or repo I love videos that I've been watching all week. I don't want to see people doing this to themselves, so why am I being shown it? This is an epidemic that will capsize the health and self-confidence of any vulnerable person that it comes in contact with. That includes teenagers all the way to adults. Before I move on, I need to really clarify that this issue isn't exclusive to young girls or adult women. This problem is absolutely affecting young boys and men. This pressure to be skinny but to also build muscle in order to adhere to the expectations of modern day dating. Both male and female pressures for body weight and physique adhere to conservative lines of thinking and old school gender dynamics, all of which are very misogynistic and affect both groups detrimentally. The pressure men face to be skinny gamer boyfriends or these buff gym rats, it inadvertently pipelines them into the manosphere's way of thinking, this self-deprecating view on self-worth. Under the rather nonchalant tag gym motivation, I found the account called Shake Weights. I don't know if that's how you pronounce it, but to be honest, I think this guy's a douche, so I'm gonna call him Shake Weights. And this guy, or this account, almost exclusively posts toxic motivation videos multiple times daily. All of these videos being posted under commonly visited tags frequented by young men who are looking for self-improvement. And of course, Shake Weights also has something to sell, as according to his bio, he helps adults transform their body in 90 days guaranteed. Once again, enforcing this method of self-hatred in order to elicit views, and hopefully for him, sales. Lining his pockets with the money of insecure and vulnerable people who are looking for self-improvement and validation. Because again, often people who are getting into gym or gym talk or whatever you want to call it are usually either people who are insecure, wanting to build their self-confidence, or they're people who are wanting to lose weight in order to feel like they look more attractive. Whichever way you slice it, there's no ethical explanation as to why you're making this content and also selling a transform your body package. Again, this is just my opinion, but I feel like I do need to state that very clearly because this guy's videos are genuinely horrible and upsetting and incredibly unhelpful for anyone who is looking to self-improve, whether it be at the gym or whether it just be weight loss. But Shake Weights is one of many gym talk grifters that feeds into men's self-hatred, something which can quickly spiral from self-improvement to suddenly feeling like your value is contingent on your masculinity or perceived attractiveness. These muscle-built gym bros with podcasts will often tell you that women only like alpha males, men who have physical and financial power and prowess. Not only is that simply not true for the average woman or the average relationship, but this way of thinking about yourself and viewing the world is incredibly harmful and corrosive. And because of that, you will blame all of your failures with dating, even if they are just common failures and fumbles, on your own self-value and your own self-worth, and that can quickly spiral into hating women too. Men shouldn't feel the need to have to adhere to these punishing work workout regimes in order to feel respected and valued. But unfortunately, being an emotionally available and decent person doesn't sell gym memberships or protein powders. But self-hatred and the resentment towards women that you perceive to reject you does. And now we've got to this point in the video and you may be thinking, Addie, only certain people are dumb enough or vulnerable enough to fall down this pipeline. I'm not like that. And so before this video, I decided to conduct a poll with my Instagram audience regarding this topic. I made a questionnaire on Google Forms about ED culture and diet culture, asking for the personal experience and viewpoints from the people who watch and engage with my Instagram stories. And bear in mind that my page is about pop culture and J fashion. I'm not making videos about my gym gains or showing how I work out or showing me doing cardio or anything like that. Seldom have I ever posted a video on my stories about what cardio I do at home. My page is really just about the things that I'm passionate about, and dieting and gym stuff just isn't one of them. And yet even so, looking at the over 800 responses to my questionnaire, it's obvious that nearly every single person who engages with my content has been affected by ED culture and diet culture in some way. When I asked my audience if they knew what diet culture was, over 94% said yes. The number was even higher at over 98% when I asked if they knew what ED culture was. Over 63% of participants said that at some point they had tried a diet regime or diet fad, with some of these including things like keto, calorie counting, fasting, or in some cases just starving themselves, most of which they'd learnt about from various social media pages or from within their home. When asked the question if they'd ever been formally diagnosed with an ED, over 19% said yes, with a further 40% stating that they believed they had an ED but didn't have a diagnosis. For clarity, that's over half of the people who participated in this survey stating that they have a disordered or unhealthy relationship with food. Over 88% of participants had said they felt pressured to lose weight at some point in their life, and 30% of those people had participated actively in online ED spaces. Spaces such as Twitter, Tumblr, dedicated forums, or Skinny Talk. When I asked if participants had noticed an active increase in diet and ED culture, over 88% said yes, with many citing places like TikTok, Instagram, and other social media platforms as being a main player in this. I also asked how diet and ED culture had affected these people's lives, and I'm going to read a couple of the anonymous responses that I got for this. I feel guilty for nearly everything I eat if it's not a fruit or vegetable. I fear gaining weight to the point that if I notice any slight change in my body, I spiral into a breakdown. Yes, severely, but it especially irreversibly harmed my relationship with my own mother. I'm extremely weak, tired, and I have a poor gut system. I also have problems with being lightheaded, dizzy, and at times vomit, though I've recovered and it isn't as bad as it used to be. For anybody wondering, the youngest recorded age for this poll was 13 and the oldest recorded age was 58. It affects everyone. ED culture has always found its way into fashion and beauty trends throughout the years, ignoring the existence of different genetics, different builds, and even just medical predispositions. Destroying ourselves has become so normalized and so subversive that when we see other people who are happy as they are, we try to destroy them instead. We are made to feel like we need to fit this painfully narrow standard that is simply not attainable or sustainable. Body positivity isn't about applauding or encouraging fatness, but it's there to say that loving yourself and being loved isn't contingent on your weight. I know this video will likely have no effect on people who were already immersed within this pipeline, people who feel that they are undoubtedly the exception to the rule, or in some cases feel like they are somehow empowered by starving their body of what it needs. You may look at me and scoff and even think to yourself that maybe I could do with losing a couple of pounds. It would not be the first or very likely the last time that the internet feels the need to speculate on my body or comment on its size or zoom into it to find all of its flaws and imperfections. But what I really want to say and put out there is this. Through life, we all gain weight, lose weight, and fluctuate with our eating and our exercise. We all get unsolicited advice and comments on our body and our eating habits. There are very few people on this earth that don't have a single insecurity about how they look. Human beings were never meant to see their reflections distorted in mirrors, cameras, or AI filters. We're just big, lanky apes. We all have the same ending. So don't waste your limited time missing out on wonderful food, going to cafes or spending time with your family, and just living. And if you've got to this point and you do feel concerned about yourself or the well-being of a loved one, then on screen I'm going to put a couple of resources that you can reach out to for advice and support and direction when it comes to seeking help with disordered eating and unhealthy relationships with food and your body. And as always, I guess, let me know down below, what are your thoughts or your concerns when it comes to the rise of diet and ED culture? Or maybe even better, leave a comment down below telling me something that you like about yourself. It could be something kind of novel, like a weird party trick that only you can do. And if you don't have anything nice to say about yourself, which we're going to work on, by the way, you need to work on that, then maybe say something positive about a loved one. Say something that you like about a friend or your partner or your parents. Like I said at the beginning, I have no idea if this video will be monetized. I've tried to handle this topic with sensitivity and care whilst adhering to the very strict and unforgiving guidelines that YouTube puts in place. But if you do want to support what I do entirely for free, then just interact with this video, watch it, comment, like, share, save it. It really does make a huge difference when it comes to what I do and the time that I'm able to dedicate to doing it. And as always, be sure to click the subscribe button and the bell icon beside it if you want to keep up with all my uploads and never miss a video. And if you miss me in the meantime between uploads, then check out my Instagram and my TikTok for daily uploads and a bunch of photo posts. And as always, it is time for the end of the video outfit check, which I know sounds a bit dumb and goofy considering the subject matter, but it's a little tradition that I've started doing, and honestly, I think it might be a bit of a palette cleanser after what was probably quite a heavy video. So yeah, if you want to know where I got this fit, then stay behind. We've got some fan art, we've got some fit checks, and thank you for supporting this video. Hello, it is the end of the video outfit check. I am kind of sweaty if you couldn't tell. The ring lights and the backlighting in my room has made the room really warm, so my face now looks pretty shiny and I feel very sticky. But that's kind of irrelevant for the outfit check. I don't know why I told you, so let's get on with the outfit check. As pretty standard by this point, we have my AliExpress pilot goggles, which I got many years ago. In terms of necklaces, we have this Named Collective safety pin, and we also have this Vivienne Westwood orb. Now this hoodie is a brand new piece that I got from Named Collective, and it's one of their corset hoodies, and it's kind of giving like goth alternative athleisure, and I really like it. And then when it comes to what I'm wearing on the bottom, I'm actually kind of wearing something that matches. Again, is it the most flattering match? Probably not, but it is a Named Collective piece which I got to match with one of my other Named Collective hoodies. We can see a theme here. I like Named Collective, and this is their glitch sweatpants, I think, and these are really comfy. These are really great for filming. You will be seeing these far more often than you probably want to. I kind of worried that I dressed up way too much for this video, and honestly, it's 3 AM and I look like this and I just feel like I've wasted such a good outfit, but it's fine. It's a dry run for wearing it out of the house, so I'm building up my confidence. But in all seriousness, I do recommend maybe watching one of my other videos as a palette cleanser, because this video is yeah, it's a bummer. It's a bit of a bummer video.